Hey everyone, welcome back to Adventures with Edna. I'm Chris, and today we're trying to figure out why Edna's gas gauge doesn't work and hasn't worked since I've owned her. I've looked at this a few times in the past and haven't been able to figure anything out. This is the first time I've used a multimeter on it, but I still haven't figured anything out. So let me show you where I'm at with it. Okay. Here we are on the truck. So I have the multimeter, which seems to work nicely, and my little phone holder, and here's the gauges. I've got everything already taken out so that there doesn't have to be, too much disassembly, so you can kind of see where we're at with things. Okay, so if you don't know, Edna's been converted to 12 volts. So each one of the gauges, because there are no 12 volt gauges out there, so the only thing you can do is you can get these resistors through Speedway and put them on each of the gauges to reduce the 12 volts back down to 6. This right here is my oil pressure gauge, which works. This is the fuel gauge, which has never worked. Temperature gauge. Alright, so this is how we're working things. So just to check the ohms, I'm turn this down to 200. Now, I'm still learning how to use this thing. I've had it for a few years, but I don't know much about it, so I've had to watch YouTube. And this is how they check the fuel sending unit on the video that I watched. They took and put the voltmeter to 200 ohms. Could really use an extra set of hands in here for this project. So if you watch here with the multimeter, alright, so you see it says OL. And if I take the two connectors and touch them, it goes to 0. .1. Now, if I reach over here to the gauge and touch it on the two, nothing happens at all. If I change this to volts to check the current going through it, and I touch the two things together, nothing happens. But if I touch the gauge now with the key on, I actually get a reading through the gauge. I don't know. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing here. Now if I check other gauges, I get stuff, I think. It'd be nice if I could set this thing where you could read it. So basically, if I put the power wire there, where the power is, and touch it to the other side of the gauge, we're getting a reading of 0.7. If I touch it here, I'm getting something too. So it must be doing something. We're not getting a reading at all from here to here. Which basically means between the ground and the gauge, we got nothing, which means the sending unit's not working. So what are we going to do? This means we're going to take this tray out, and we're going to take the sending unit out and see if we can look at it. Alright, so we're going to take the tray out, which is just held in with these two bolts in here. I think. Missing one apparently. These little trays are very handy. I lined mine with this toolbox liner that I got from Walmart. What I want to try and do now is take the actual sending unit out here. Let's see if we can learn anything, since it doesn't do anything. So we need a screwdriver. What I'm hoping to do here is find out if there's any way to actually work on this thing, because this is, I guess it's not technically a new unit. It was in the truck when I bought it. Everything on it looks brand new, but it doesn't work. One good thing about Edna is when I bought her, she had a new gas tank and a new sending unit. Why the sending unit doesn't work, I don't know. I just want to know how much gas I have. With the speedometer not working at the moment, I can't tell, because normally I just go off of the speedometer. And here it is. Okay, so we're essentially getting nothing. We're going to set this back to 200 where we started. We're going to put one wire here and one wire here. And we're getting nothing no matter where it's at. So, let's see if what happens if we take this little box off. This is basically like a tailgate rebuild at this point. If that's even something we can do here. Alright, so what do we got to do to take this apart? Looks like if we pull... No, we don't have to move that at all. So let's unbend what we just bent. It looks like if you take this one, drop it, and pull back. Should be able to do this without breaking it. Alright, it's off. Alright, so I've got it figured out. That is definitely melted. And it actually comes up and hits that. Not only that, but the wire that goes from here to here is burned off too. So there is no connection from here to here. So now that we know what's actually wrong, if we make the connections between here and here, if you watch the meter, it'll change based on where you set this thing. So I don't know why it's fried. It's never worked. It was just in the truck when I got it, but I've never pulled this apart to actually look at what the actual mechanism looks like. So it doesn't look like there's much I can do beyond getting a new one, which is what we're going to have to do. So in theory, we could have a working fuel gauge if we get a new sending unit, which would be nice. And then we'll finally know how much gas is in here. Something else that's been bothering me for a while is this lens fell out of here, a little red lens, and dropped down inside of here. So we're going to take this off, which apparently that one's already loose, and try put this on. I'm not left-handed. There it is. Let's see if we can get this back on. Okay, we got that back on correctly, which was pointless because these tabs have got to go under that. So we're not ready to put it back on yet. So let's take it back off again. Couple dabs of super glue and we should be good to go. One there, one there, and one there. There we go, now it's in. My finger stuck to the back. Much better. But we dropped the whole mechanism. Alright, now it's back together. Alright, so I was about to call it on this video because there's not much I can do now. Ordering a new fuel sending unit will take several days to a week probably. So it's not like I can just run down to O'Reilly's and pick one up. Now, I decided to do one more quick thing, which is run a test to make sure the gauge actually works, which is basically where you just run power to it and then you ground it out, and then the gauge should go from 0 to full with nothing to give any resistance. So nothing happened when I did that, which means the gauge isn't working. Now, power was connecting through the gauge, but it's apparently not working. So I took it out and I took the face off. And if you've ever wondered what one of these gauges looks like on the inside, that's what it looks like. Now, there's a hair-sized wire going from here to there at the bottom of the needle, and then it wraps around this little bar right here, and then it goes up here to there. But if you look closely, there's no connection from that part of the hair to that part of the hair. So we got nothing. So we need a gauge and a sending unit. I wasn't expecting to have to get both. So what's our next move? Well, we have to put the fuel sending unit back in because we can't just have stuff dropping into the tank. And we got to put the gauges back together. Put those in. I'm going to look and see if there's any difference between the gauges, because I replaced all the gauges back when I first bought it. So all these gauges are new gauges. So I might have fried this one back when I was originally trying to get it working a few years ago, and I just haven't looked at it since. So if the gauges are actually the same with different faces, then all I really got to do is just switch a face from a temperature gauge to a fuel sending unit. So I might try that, because the gauges aren't cheap. They're like $90. And that was the last time I looked, which was a few years ago. So it could be worse. I can smell gas since the sending unit isn't in. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, as I can continue driving with no fuel gauge, as I have been. But lately, since the speedometer is not going to be working until I change transmissions, we're going to have to just keep throwing gas at it. Or in it. Anyway, if you like this video, hit the like button. Please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already. And thanks for watching Adventures with Edna, and we'll see you in the next one.